Hey, Drew, why would I buy an $8,000 pair of headphones?
Well, why wouldn't you? Let's find out.
All right, we are here today doing our HiFiMan SUSVARA Unveiled review, doing something a little different this time. What do you think of the setup, Drew?
I think we've really unveiled the microphones here.
Let's see what you did there.
Yeah, I'm really loving the mic setup. It's really crazy. I mean, it's messing with my head.
Yeah,
I'm
it's good.
really enjoying it. I'm really having
this.
fun. Yeah,
Definitely
really cool.
going to be a nice conversation, I hope, about this new headphone. There's lots to talk about.
Oh my
but
gosh.
Before we do that,
I think we want to check out an unboxing, so stay tuned and watch this.
check it out.
So let's unbox the SUSVARA Unveiled and see what we've got. By the magic of television, it's already been cut. Yay! These are bad for people. Make sure you dispose of these properly. Alrighty. Very, very excited about this. Huge fan of the SUSVARA. Tape not easy to cut. Come on now. I guess we're just gonna have to rip it. Teeth involved? There we go. Don't do that at home, kids. Look at that. Nice metal plate there. Nice leather case. Man, that's a tight clip. So you get little information about the stealth technology. That's not new. It's on most of their headphones, but cool to have that little card in there to check it out. You've got your owner's guide, warranty information, where you can go download everything as well if you want an electronic copy. Ooh, very nice owner's guide book. Wow, this is new. HiFiMan hasn't done something like this in a long time, or ever, for that matter. This is, I guess, all of their technology, get into the history, stuff like that. Very cool. That'll be fun to put on the coffee table. Got a little suede bag to put the headphones in. We'll be putting it on a stand to really protect it. Ooh, they really went to extra efforts to protect everything. I'm assuming this is maybe a cable or something. We'll get that out afterwards because it's kind of wedged in there. Now there's the cables. So it's going to come with a 1/4-inch cable and then a 4-pin XLR cable. Again, silica bags. Make sure to dispose of those properly. Not sure what that says. I guess it's the little QC card. Let's bring this baby out. The cups are protected, which is probably smart because, as we know, the side part of these cups come off. Oh, they're already not on the headphones. That must be what the things on the sides are. So this is without the plate. There's the raw driver. Make sure you're very careful with these headphones and to put the protective plates on to protect those drivers because they are very open, and that is sort of the whole premise on these headphones, a super open sound. Very nice, very comfortable, the HiFiMan headphones. I've always been a big fan of the comfort. Let's put them on the head. Yeah, always been a big fan of the way these feel on the head. Very comfortable, very oval compared to the other HiFiMans, which tend to be more longer this way and sometimes can tickle your ears a bit, but this is perfectly round, very nice. So let's put this down for a second so we can get the plates out. So we can show how those work. These are magnetic, so you don't have to worry about doing anything fancy with it. I think that's supposed to stay on there, but I'm not entirely positive. We'll find out that later. But yeah, see, that just magnifies right on it. The other one out. So I have a feeling you won't want to listen to this headphone with those on. I have a feeling it'll really enclose the sound. These are really only for protection purposes, not for changing between closed and open back headphones. But this is to protect it while it's on the headphone stand. Okay. Keep hitting it, knocking it up. There's a little extension here where it sticks out and it'll knock off the magnet system there, but it's good enough to stay on while it's on the stand. It wasn't supposed to be super tight and magnetic. Anyway.
So let's talk about the SUSVARA. When you hear that name, you think this is one of the best headphones in the world. Why is that?
It's been out for about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. I can't remember exactly, but it's been out for quite some time. And it was sort of the replacement for the long-standing great headphone by HiFiMan before that, the HE6, which was a real bear to drive. We used to connect that up to speaker amps and, Class A 30 watt per channel amps and tube amps, because those were dogs to drive. I mean, really difficult to drive. And this was the replacement for the HE6. And a huge upgrade. While the HE6 was an outstanding product, with all the new nanotechnology and the films that HiFiMan had been doing, they really pushed the envelope with the SUSVARA. At the time, I'm trying to think if it was the most expensive headphone at the time, but it was pricey. But it was well worth the price tag at the time, I think. It was just a fantastic headphone.
So that being said, HiFiMan just released their newest update, the Unveiled. Can you tell us a little bit about, there's some major improvements that they made to the headphone, including efficiency, some design elements that are obviously changed here. Do we want to kind of get into maybe the design and, just looking at here we have the original SUSVARA, here's the Unveiled. You can obviously see some of the characteristics that are borrowed and then obviously some pretty major departures.
Yeah. I think the two most important parts about the new headphone essentially is, the new very open design on the outside where you can see the driver. They've gotten rid of all the felt padding and protection to essentially create a very open sounding headphone. And then the second, really big thing that gained them the numbers that they got in the specs were the silver traces that they used on the driver itself. They changed from
conductor.
They changed the conductor to now a silver conductor, which we know silver very well with our dragging cables. I mean, I'm a huge silver guy. And this drastically reduces the resistance. And so this can affect sensitivity. It can affect the impedance of the headphone, lots of different things. So those are the two most important things to mention that really sort of changed and improved the sound. I wouldn't say that there was a drastic change in sound between the original SUSVARA and the new one. I think they still have a very similar tonality, but it's all the other things that which we'll talk about in a few minutes that have changed greatly.
It's interesting because let's talk about HiFiMan's proprietary stealth magnets, right? So the original SUSVARA is an open back too, but they use this window shade grill, and what they talk about is essentially with open back designs, you run into, even with the grills, you run into reflections and refraction issues.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Their stealth magnets aims to kind of help the wave path go through these obstructions. But essentially what they did for the Unveiled is, the easiest way to fix reflections and refraction issues is obviously just take away the obstruction altogether. Exactly. So essentially here, what you're looking at, that's the driver itself, right? Yeah. So I thought it was interesting, that they also, because it's just so open, they included these magnetic cups that you can put over them when they're not in use. Yeah. To kind of help protect the driver because, chances are you're going to get some crap in there over time. Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a headphone you're going to throw into a gym bag, and I wouldn't with the old SUSVARAs, but, essentially, we want to protect it. We want to keep environmental aspects out of it, like dust and such like that. So when you're not using it, let's cover it with a cup. Some people have complained that the cups pop off a little too easily. Well, you got to be careful. They're using magnets here, and what is a planar driver have? A lot of magnets. And if you add too strong of magnets on that plate right there, what might it do? The magnetic field may interfere with the driver. So that's why they chose, and it pops on there nicely, but it's, you can easily take them off. They're not real, they're not real magnetically held on there. So, and that's a good thing because we don't want anything to impede with the sound characteristics of the driver from any kind of magnetic fields from outside. So, but yeah, I mean, this reminds me back in the day with the HD 580, 600, and 650, one of the biggest mods to do on that headphone at the time was internally, not on the external part, there were a bunch of felt rings, protective rings to protect the driver and so forth. And there was one big one that was underneath the ear pads that people would take off. And then there was a ring that went around the driver that people would take off. And this would open up the sound. Essentially, sort of the same things going on here between the old SUSVARA and the other HiFiMan headphones. They've removed every obstacle that can get in the way. Sometimes less is definitely more, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And reflections and so forth are a huge problem with very thin, microfiber thin, Mylar drivers, as well as with electrostatic headphones as well. They're so thin and so sensitive to things going on around it.
Right.
Any back wave bounce from any reflection is going to affect the driver and cause, either a cancellation of part of the frequency response, or maybe, some sort of deterioration in the sound quality, a measurement change. So these are open.
Yeah, no, the other thing I want to bring attention to is, you can see here, they kind of did without the wood veneer as well.
Yeah.
And it just makes for a much sleeker, modern looking headphone that I'm, aesthetically
it looks
huge
a lot
fan of.
More futuristic almost, right?
Yeah.
Right? You think of the metals. I love the look of the old one.
Yeah.
The new one is really cool looking and much better in person. I think some of the pictures don't do it justice. I think it looks a little too orange or something like that, but it's some of the pictures were a little too bright online, so, but in person, the leather has a very nice tan look to it. I've got a question for HiFiMan, which I haven't had time to ask yet. Are the ear pads identical between the old SUSVARA and the new one? It'd be cool if I could put the black. If you want to change up the color, some people may not like the tan, but if we can change it to the other ear pads, that would be really cool. That's a question I'll have to ask. I haven't played with them yet.
Color options, HiFiMan.
Color options.
Make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I like the darker color presentation, but they both have their appeals. They're definitely cool.
I'm a fan of this one.
Yeah.
Over the original, personally. But okay, let's get to what the people want to hear. Yeah. Sound impressions. What's different this go around?
So again, I said, like I said, I mean, I think the house sound signature of the SUSVARA really hasn't changed. If you look at, and I've looked at a couple of measurements from folks online, I haven't seen one. I don't think Jude's done one over at HeadFi. It'd really be interesting to see his. But the frequency responses line up very similar. I mean, it's very flat from, 2K down all the way into the bass spectrum. Those two look very similar. Yeah. The high frequency bump between 2 and 5, I think it is a little lower on the new one than it is on the old one. So what does this do? This provides, I think, a little more natural sound to it, and I think HiFiMan is going that direction. We've seen that with the organic, right? The organic became very organic sounding, natural sounding, little warmer, smoother. I will not say that the SUSVARA Unveiled is warmer, but in comparison to the old one, it's definitely smoother on the top end. I wouldn't call the old SUSVARA bright and forward, but it is. The two of them are incredibly detailed. Lots of nuances. I mean, you pick up on so much, right? So some people that are sensitive to high frequencies might find, the SUSVARA bright. Thus why we've always used the Black Dragon cable with the original SUSVARA and definitely with the new Unveiled one. Right. It's going to smooth things out, add a little, warmth.
For sure. You definitely don't want to add silver.
Yeah, and definitely. I mean, it's the silver traces in the driver aren't going to affect the sound as much as a silver cable would. Yeah. And some people are going to want even more detail. I mean, there's no right or wrong to this. I think, we both did a lot of the same testing on devices. We both used the Hedonia. We also used the Dragon Inspire. So a lot of tubes were involved. And I just, I've always used tubes with the original SUSVARA. So it made sense to do the same thing with the Unveiled.
It's interesting because you said in your take, it wasn't night and day.
Yeah.
And from my take, my perspective, I felt like it was a little more change for me sonically than you had. Probably
but it's
because
it's not a coloration change though, right?
Correct. And it's probably because I'm a little more sensitive to high end. I love the original SUSVARA, but I think I'm a little more sensitive to higher frequencies. The high ends where, they're crisp, they're detailed, but I really like the smoother presentation of the Unveiled
on the new one.
Personally. Yeah. And again, everyone's experience is going to be different depending on how they hear, any hearing loss they might have, what gear they pair it with. But like you said, I definitely, I wouldn't pair this anything with other than with a tube amp.
Yeah.
For the added warmth and body.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is not a complete redesign for HiFiMan, sort of like the Utopias. I mean, the 2020s and the 2022s, the drivers in terms of tonality are totally different, right? This one, they keep trying to push the envelope of improving things, and that's what they've done. And I think, I don't hear a big coloration difference between the two. Where I hear all the improvements are, things are livelier, the energy, everything is quicker, the bass is tighter, more controlled, and just something that you get with speakers that are really hard to do with headphones is you can feel the air moving in the room. And so with this headphone, I sort of, for the first time since, driving an HE6 with like a 30 watt Class A Pass Labs amplifier, I was really feeling some air moving with ease,
with more efficiency.
Like I said, so these are easier to drive. They're still, the numbers don't show a big difference. Like if I just saw the numbers, the difference between 86 and 83, 3 dB, and then the impedance change isn't that great, but it's pretty staggering. Staggering is a little too aggressive of a word, but these are a lot easier to drive. I drove them with so many different products, and I haven't done it with everything yet, but like I've got two on the table here. I tried the Astel and Kern SB 3000T. I would have thought that this would have not done well on it, and I even used the Walkman, the WM1A. I mean, and it's just it's able to drive these. The Sony didn't drive it as well as the Astel and Kern, but it drove it, and I was like really surprised because I really sort of put this more in the camp of the Dan Clark E3s, right? I was thinking it was going to be similar to this, which the E3s are a little bit easier to drive than other Dan Clarks, but it's still hard to drive these with some Astel and Kern players, for example. The Shanling M9, which I told Andy Regan about, is a stellar match for the E3s and really drives them. And I haven't had a chance to burn in our demo Shanling yet, but I can't wait to listen to the M9 with the SUSVARAs. I think that's going to be the pairing. If you're going to use a portable device, I think that's going to be the one to go with. We'll see. We've got a lot of things to play with here.
And I think that's the big takeaway here, right? With the SUSVARA Unveiled, is that it's more efficient. The exciting thing, the big takeaway, is that you're going to be able to pair it with more devices out there, more options. That was, I would say one of the few downsides of the original is just it's a beast to drive. And unless you have tons of power to throw behind it, you're not going to get the best performance out of your purchase. So,
and I've said this before. I mean, planars always exceed the more power you throw at them. So even though they are easier to drive than the original, the more power you can throw at them, the better. And that's why I'm talking about the Shanling M9 and even the Onyx, the new Onyx, the 5, the M5. I think that's going to be a good pairing too. And that's I'm trying to remember the price. We'll put it up on the board, but that's a cost-effective DAP to use with this. Cost.
First off, would you have ever considered taking a SUSVARA with you portably?
No. And I wouldn't take the OG, but for desktop use, right? I mean, some people don't have a dedicated headphone room. I mean, a lot of people spend their time at their computer, listening to headphones there. And sometimes they don't have room for equipment on the desk. Okay. So with this one, if you can find a portable DAP or something to put on the desk that you can use this, if you're working, in the basement or wherever you set up your at-home base station, for doing work at home, it's great that you can use now a DAP. You cannot do that with the original.
More options.
It's great. That's another takeaway. More options.
So you were going to say cost.
Cost
is why would I buy an $8,000 pair of headphones? Well, I think that we're going to get that question.
It's headphones just keep getting more expensive. I can say that the cost of silver is through the roof. Take it from somebody that buys a lot of silver. I don't know how much silver is in that driver. It's a lot of money to do those traces. It's expensive. I think they're probably pretty thick, heavy traces. More so than on a PC board and a component. Cost is what cost is. Everything's going to get more expensive, unfortunately. I mean, we're seeing price increases across the board, not just on headphones, but everything. Is it worth $8,000? it's a damn good sounding headphone. I would say it's up there with electrostatic systems easily. It's got the speed, the detail, and what do electrostatics not necessarily always have? Good bottom end. So this is, with all the options that you can now use it with, it becomes less of a point for me at that price point. The original one, which is expensive at $6,000, you've got to put a really expensive amp behind it or something. So the price tag gets really high and you don't have a lot of options to use it with.
Right.
This now becomes something that says, okay, I don't have to buy, a Nirvana from Oris or a Hedonia or whatnot to drive it. I can drive some, the Dragon Inspire drives it. And that's a very cost effective and one of our best sellers here at Moon Audio. So, you don't have to spend as much coin on the amplifier. So putting that extra money into a headphone that does a better job and gives you the world-renowned SUSVARA sound, hey, would I upgrade if I had the original SUSVARA? Well, only, yes, no. It depends on
how you hear, what you're wanting from your
if you're going to sell your original ones and get some good coin back from it, it's a tough decision. It's definitely better. Is it night and day? Not night and day, but it is definitely better. And the reason for the price increase is silver, most likely, and some other things,
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said before. At this level, it's you're chasing the numbers, and I feel like there gets to be a point where there's
at a certain price point, the incremental differences become smaller and smaller, and the price tag gets bigger and bigger.
But I would say we're still in the range where you're getting what you're paying for, 100%. And
100%.
Like I said in the review, which we'll link to in the description, at this, for $8,000, it's an expensive headphone, but what you get in return is priceless.
Yeah.
I mean, with the experience, the fidelity, everything you're getting from this premium package, I mean, there's nothing really that compares to it.
Yeah.
So,
and what we'll do in the review is we're going to add some pairings to the review as we spend more time with this and figure out which amps we like to go with it. Obviously, we already love the Hedonia, but I love any headphone in the Hedonia.
Sure.
The headphone can be garbage. And I almost love it. I mean, I almost always love it on the Hedonia. It's just a sick amp. But, I think maybe a Past Labs HPA1 for those that want solid state. I bet that's going to be a good pairing. And it's silver. The two of them with the silver look really good together. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a good pairing. The Dragon Inspire, like I said, the AK SP3000T is a good choice, especially you can, do the swapping between the tube mode, a hybrid mode, or an op-amp analog mode. And then, of course, like I said, we're going to, when I do our review of the Shanling M9, the Unveiled will definitely be in that review. So I think that's really going to be a good combination. So we'll see. We'll add those to the review, which pairings we like. And you can make some financial decisions.
For sure. Yeah, I think you had already mentioned it, but, again, with the Dragon cable pairings, everyone hears differently, but our personal recommendation is the Black Dragon.
The premium Black Dragon, yes.
That copper really kind of adds a little more body, a little more musicality to the presentation.
Oomph.
Yeah, so
a little oomph.
But if you're a detail freak like you are sometimes, then you can go with a Silver Dragon too. I mean, the options are endless.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing also, I keep talking about other things we're going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a 300B tube review down the road because I'm getting really into 300Bs. I just love them. And so we've picked up Western Electric, KR Audio. I've always been an EAT, a 300B dealer. Yeah. And so I may find when I go to the Western Electric 300B on the Hedonia that I might want a Silver Dragon on there. So we'll see. We're going to have some fun. It's that's the great thing about this hobby.
That's the fun thing.
All the changes you can make in the system to, mix things up.
We'll tailor it to how you want to hear your music, right?
That's right.
So
that's the fun thing.
Yeah, for sure. So. Well, I think we've just about covered pretty much everything that we want to right now. If we missed anything or if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. We will address those as we can. If you like this video, give a thumbs up. If you want more kind of podcast styles, I think Drew loves this setup.
I love this mic.
Give lots of thumbs up. And remember to subscribe. For more audiophile content like this. Drew, do you have anything else to add?
Love the SUSVARA. Love you guys. Can't wait to see you next time.
Great. Thanks for watching.